Angry guy here. And why are women saying that men are asking for consent too often? This is not clickbait. Oh gosh. Chai Sox fan. Shout out to Chai Sox fan. Sunday sermon. You guys really want Sunday sermon. All right, guys. Sunday sermon is something separate. But anyway, guys, good Sunday morning, guys. You really want Sunday sermon? Let's go ahead and jump into this video because this is not clickbait. So this woman is evidently an educator. She runs a channel called Comprehensive Consent, and her job is to teach people about consent. She has a website called comprehensiveconsent.com and an Instagram. Okay, so this is an educator. This is an educator, guys, and we're gonna listen to everything. In fact, let's go. I'm gonna even go a step further. Before showing you the video, okay, I'm gonna go and we're gonna look at her website because I want you guys to see how insane this is. Give your students practical consent knowledge and skills. Focus on the nuance of consent. It's really a nuisance, but nuance of consent. Comprehensive consent focuses on more than just what consent is. Every product and workshop is designed in service of building a student's consent skills and giving them real world practice in navigating interpersonal interactions. By empowering young people in their body rights and developing their emotional consent skills, Comprehensive Consent's mission is to help nurture a generation of students who embody consent values and who are guided by their commitment to mutual respect for all people, K through 5. So this is an actual website, right? And she provides packages for K through 5, middle and high school, colleges, and universities. I'm surprised she doesn't provide services for what do you call it? For institutions like for companies. But yeah, so this is for schools, adult learning. I mean, this is an actual business. This is an actual business that this woman has set up. All right. So it's even more shocking that yes, it's even more shocking coming from someone like her
to go overboard with consent.
It's shocking that coming from someone like her that she's basically rallying that men are now asking for too much consent. Let's listen to this. Are you doing consent too much? Oh boy.
It's possible to go overboard with consent. As a consent educator, I obviously want you to be thinking a lot about bodily autonomy and choice and boundaries. But there are times when someone can be doing like too much consent, and that can have negative consequences. If you're trying so hard to make sure that everything goes perfectly in consent and that you're getting verbal yeses for everything and you're checking in every few moments and you're saying, is this okay? Is that okay? Is this okay? Is that okay? The person who's with you is going to feel that perfectionism anxiety, right? And the flip side of I have to get this right is I cannot get this wrong. But when you're so scared of getting something wrong, the person who's with you is going to feel that energy and they're not going to feel safe to say, hey, like, I didn't like that you did this, or even make like a small adjustment suggestion.
Guys, do you hear how insane this is? So basically, you should always seek out consent at all times. However, you should also not ask for consent at all times because then you can make the other person uncomfortable and even afraid to be around you because you're asking for consent. This is like I'm not exaggerating. Let's go back. Listen to that part again very carefully.
With you is going to feel that energy and they're not going to feel safe to say, hey, like,
they're not going to feel safe. So you can make someone uncomfortable you can make someone uncomfortable. This is from a consent educator. You can make someone feel unsafe if you ask for too much consent, but it doesn't end there. Oh, it doesn't end there. Keep going.
I didn't like that you did this, or even make like a small adjustment suggestion. I love individual motivation to have strong consent practices and our cultural motivation to push the importance of consent. But it's possible to go too hard and miss the mark of what we're actually doing this for. Now, disclaimer, if someone says they want you to practice consent like that because that's how they feel comfortable, then that's motivated by them. Very different situation.
Wait a minute. So she just told us that asking for every little bit of consent is not okay because that'll make someone feel uncomfortable. However, it is okay. However, there is an exception because if that's what someone wants, then that's what you should do. Guys, do you see the reason why men are walking completely away from society? Like, guys, this is levels of insanity. Levels of insanity. All right? Not even the guys that are out there worshiping them, simping, can keep up with this. All right? The simps will always simp, but not even a simp can keep up with this. All right? Because they'll get cussed out. They will be told that you're making me feel unsafe asking for consent too much. And by you doing this, you're making me feel like I can't ask you to adjust certain things that I don't like the way you're asking for consent. So in other words, it's crazy. So like if you ask too much, then you make them feel uncomfortable asking you to make specific changes. Because maybe you're not consenting the way they want you to consent, but if you're constantly checking in, then they're going to feel uncomfortable trying to ask you to do anything else. Make more changes. Guys, this is it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's beyond insanity. It's beyond insanity. I mean, not even the SIMPs can keep up with this. Okay? They can go out there, but only a crazy person would live with this level of delusion. Okay? I mean, the legal system can't keep up with this. The legal system cannot keep up with this, all right? Because anyone that would it's just beyond madness. DSM says these chicks came up with the idea because of M2. Now they don't like it. Sayan says, so once you start messing up, she will be less likely to tell you what she wants. Oh, that helps. The anxiety of the situation. So once you start messing up, she will be less likely to tell you what she wants. Golan says entitlement. Yeah, it is the epitome of entitlement. All right. And then, of course, what they're going to do, blame men some more. It's no wonder guys are just like, they're just picking up like, okay, yeah, we're done with this one. Okay, we're done, chief. We're done.
Second, asking before you do something is not hypervigilance. Please don't make that be the takeaway from this video. Please keep having conversations before, during, after activities. My whole job is centered around do that. But also remember that the purpose of consent is to create safety. And if you are being so hypervigilant and reassurance checking that someone doesn't feel safe, then you're missing the mark.
If you're constantly checking to make sure someone doesn't feel safe, then you can end up making someone feel unsafe. Guys, she just literally said you should be checking before, during, and after. But if you're constantly checking if someone feels safe, then you're going to make someone feel unsafe. What kind of madness? And by the way, if that's what the person wants, though, that's what you should be doing. She said, if it's Chad, Brad, Pookie, and Ray Ray, Daquan, I'm sure all that goes out the window. One perfectly said, guys. I don't know who. I just don't know. I just don't know. Like sometimes you see things and you just don't know how like what do you even say? Like how. I don't know. I don't know. My brain can't. It can't. It's like, yeah, they just constantly come up with something new, guys. I give women credit. I give the feminists credit to find new ways to torture men. You know, I mean, you have to really hate people. You have to really hate someone. I mean, this is you. I mean, these people are. I just don't know. How do you even get to this point? You know, and then they'll turn around and say, we just want men. Is it too much to ask that guys just don't be jerks? Just listen to us and do what we say. And these guys are like, but we're trying. Well, try harder. But we're trying our hardest, and now you're telling us that we're doing too much. But if we don't do enough, then it's like basically just sit there and be criticized and understand that we could destroy you at any time if we so feel like it. It's like, guys, men have just become toys and basically become toys for mean girls. They'll tear them apart whenever they want to. It's like men are now like raggedy dolls that women can drag around, use, abuse, and then when they feel like it, just rip them to shreds and get a new one. It's absolutely horrifying and sickening. And and of course there will be a ton of these guys that are going to be out there worshiping her and complimenting her and saying, see, it's that easy, it's that simple. I wish people would just understand. I mean, because you're just trying to educate people, right? I just don't know, guys. I just don't know. And she's actually doing pretty well on Instagram. She has over 25,000 followers on Instagram, right? And this is her business. This is an actual business that she is running, and she's making money off this. You know? She's literally running this is an actual business that this woman is running, and she's making money off this. And it just amazes me. It literally just amazes me that this is happening, that this is going on. You know? And it's like it's a never ending, it's like the never ending story. The never ending story for men. You know? And then you wonder why guys are just picking up and walking off. And it shouldn't surprise anyone because they're furious at the password bros. That's why they're furious at the password bros, because the password bros are just, people don't comprehend. The password bros are not simply men. The password bros are not simply just guys who are walking away, from who are walking away and going overseas to find new wives and in new countries. The password bros are also men who are also guys. The password bros are also guys who are going overseas to start new lives, and they have no interest in coming back. They have literally they have no, like, a lot of these guys, they're going overseas, and not only are they not coming back, but they're also not even, a lot of them are not even looking for wives. A lot of them are not even looking for wives. A lot of them are basically, they just want peace because they can't put up with the crap anymore. They see it as just a load of crap, and they're like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just 100% done with this. Let's look at. I'm going to show you some of the. She posted this video on Instagram, and you should see the screen now. And check this out. Check out what she's. Let's check out what she's saying here now, because it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Here's the screen, right? You guys can see it. And I'm going to look at some of the comments with you of what she's saying. Okay. Let's look at some of the comments. We have to stop perpetuating. Did she spell that right? Perpetrating this perfectionism. It's not realistic, and it's not fair to our students. Someone says, is this okay? Is such a bad question for actually arriving at consent. Look at this comment. Is this okay? So asking a person if something is okay is a bad way of asking someone if something is okay. All right? Like, holy cow. And she goes 100, 100. Asking, guys, check this out. Saying, is this okay? Is such a bad question for actually arriving at consent. So asking someone if something is okay when asking for consent is a terrible way of arriving at consent. This makes, guys, this is beyond madness. So what are you supposed to say then? If you're not supposed to ask them if this is okay, if this is acceptable, can I do this? Then what should you do? The answer is don't do anything at all. In other words, guys, it really sounds like what you should be doing is just staying away from people entirely. Because asking if something is okay, if you can't, if simply if asking if it's okay is the wrong way of obtaining consent, all right, then what's the right way? The only right way is if you can't verbally ask what's acceptable from what's unacceptable, all right? And if you ask and ask and check and constantly and checking in, because they say check in before, during, and after, but then checking in during, before, and after, and constantly checking in, as they've said, if that is going to make them feel unsafe and is the wrong way of doing consent, then what's the right way of guys? It's madness. It's a crazy game that they're playing. And what all that it's all going to lead to is men completely giving up and saying, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. Look at this. Yes. Hey, I thought you'd see this one. So one of her people, and then here's Frankie. Because guys, like I said, these SIMPs are insane. She says, thing is, if you are doing this, you are likely asking for consent validation more than consent from your partner, and that is a heavy burden to carry. Consent validation? What the heck? We should be confident enough to be able to separate one from the other. Consent must come from outside. Validation can be requested, but ideally should come from within. Correct me if I'm wrong. What kind of madness is this, guys? So if a person, getting verbal consent is not enough because the validation must come from within the person. So it's never enough to get just verbal consent, and asking for consent is really just a form of of consent validation. It is not the same as actually getting consent in and of itself. This is the same garbage they came out years ago when they said that yes does not always mean yes. So what you need to be doing is you shouldn't be asking for, you shouldn't just be trying to get consent. You need to get enthusiastic consent. So if you ask for consent, the woman must be enthusiastic about giving said consent. Enthusiastic consent. Guys, and this was coming from men. And let's see this amazing response. Totally, the phrase reassurance checking rarely rings true for me on this one. Guys, this is madness. Madness upon madness upon madness upon madness. And then you wonder why guys are just like F this, I'm out. Golan Iron says, women don't want equality, they want dominance. But, if it wasn't for our current laws on man and woman, we'd be different. Can't say better. But it's what we are allowed to happen. Yeah, pretty much. Sayan says, I get it. So they can want consent, but if I want to give consent, I'm in the wrong. Ha 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 ha. Lori says, I am a woman. I agree. What do you agree on, Lori? Like, do you agree with her or do you agree with us? What, Lori? What you said? What are your thoughts, Lori? Are you saying that you agree with what I'm saying, that it's gone to the point where men are just going to give up and walk away entirely? Or are you saying that you agree with her perspective on consent and you believe that there's some sanity to what she and these people are saying. She's okay. Lori says, I agree with you guys. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Lord says Lori is a troll. I don't know. I don't know. Jason says the West is finished. And here's the thing: Lori may very well not be a troll. Lori could be a real person, but at this point, when you look at the kinds of things that are happening, men are in complete men. This is why men have no more trust whatsoever. Men don't trust women at all. All right, so many guys no longer trust women. All right, even their allies, the guys that were once allies, have lost trust. The only men that are still doing this crap are the guys Jordan Peterson talked about. All right, Jordan Peterson talked about these people. And here's what he said. He basically said, Lori says, it's insane. I wish everybody should be treated and viewed equally. I'm agreeing with you guys. Yep. Thanks, Lori. Thank you. Guys, it's at the Jordan Peterson basically said that, it was going to get to this point, it was going to get to this point. And now, men are basically, he said, and he talked about the men that do this. He said that the guys who are doing this, the kinds of men that support this types of thing, he said that's how they survive. This is how they survive. This is about money for them. So they will agree with any level of lunacy, because you have to understand, these kinds of people, this is how they survive. This is their survival mechanism. This is how because they basically, this means that they can go into these types of spaces. They can make money from these spaces. This is how it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. They use the division. They use this division that's being created, and they lay around in it like a pig in mud. Because these are men that could never survive on their own. They could never actually have a normal relationship with a woman. Okay? So for them, this is the type of garbage that they'll go for, because it gives them access to mentally ill women. All right? It gives them access to resources. Because there's a lot of these guys who come into the spaces and they're making money. A number of years ago, some of you guys will remember, the feminists were freaking out and furious that a lot of guys were being allowed to come into their space and profit off feminism. All right. And there was really basically nothing they could do about it. All of this is the exact same as all these other sick movements that are out there right now. They're not about helping people. They're about getting money. It's all about getting money. It's about socialism, okay? It's about oppression. It's about control, okay? That's the entire agenda. And here's the thing about it: when you divide the sexes and you create misery, and you create misery, division, and fighting between the sexes, it's powerful, because because what it does is it creates more consumerism. So now, instead of people living together, all right, instead of having families, you don't have families anymore. So everybody's divided. So that means that everybody has to spend money for everything. So instead of people sharing resources, living in one home together, nope, everybody needs their own home. And everybody has to share. Everybody has to have their own resources. All right. People no longer share housing. They no longer share food. They no longer divide up labor. So guess what? Oh, now when you have all these things, now you know what? I can't even do this on my own. I'm going to have to pay someone to do it. So now the center of everyone's life becomes consumerism. And all you do is spend, work, spend, work. And then hopefully at some point, maybe you'll have a good, you'll eventually, leave this plane, and you'll have a grave. But I'm going to guarantee you guys right now, most of you people listening right now, you won't have a grave. Like, they're not going to put you in the earth, because it's going to be too expensive by the time you pass away. Like all these people that are being buried right now, like that, they're a part of the final generation. They're part of the last generation, because most of you people listening right now, they're not going to bury you. All right, they're not going to bury you because it's going to be so expensive to have a plate to be buried in the ground. It's going to be so expensive that they're going to burn everyone. All right. And not only are they going to burn you, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg to get it done too. Because they're going to charge like that's like burning, like cremation is going to be the new burial. Cremation is going to be the new burial. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. All right. Because listen to me, if you want to be buried, it's going to be like, oh, you want to be buried? They're going to treat it like it's a house. They're going to treat it like it's a house. You're going to see it skyrocketing. $20,000, then $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, $1 million to be buried in the ground. Y'all think I'm guys? You saw me predict so many things over almost the last 10 years, and I'm calling it right now. You're gonna hear you're gonna see it. You're gonna see articles about it in the coming years, as you know, the boomers as many of the boomers are beginning to pass away. You're gonna see stories about it. All right. You're going to see stories about it literally saying that, the cost of burial is too much now. All right. With some graves going out. So with some grave spots literally exceeding $1 million. $1 million. I mean, like, guys, it's literally going to be real. It's literally going to be real estate. It's going to be a real estate rush, because what happens is you're going to have a lot of boomers passing away. And these boomers are going to start saying, these people are people who live for consumerism. So you're going to have these people literally like try to have like the best grave, like fighting over graves. Oh, this spot is in the cemetery. It's in the cemetery where this famous actress was buried. She's actually so many graves down. If you look over there, you can actually see where her mausoleum is. So this lovely spot right here is blah 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 blah, and it's only going for right now. We have a bunch of offers. The top offer right now is 300,000, but they haven't. But we're still waiting for their bank. If you make us an offer right now, we may be able to get it to you for 275. Oh my gosh, 275. That's 275,000. By the way, 200 guys. I'm telling you right now. Oh shit, Lori's Gen X. Well, guys, don't be too bad for her. She's a Gen Xer. Can't be too bad. Can't be too bad. Lori says, we are pushing our men to feel inadequate, and it's not right. I'm really disappointed with women and the feminist movement. At this point, it's like, what do you want to say? And here's the thing. When you see men, you're going to see the worst of men, because most men don't hate women, but the small minority, they're always the loudest. Just like the radical feminists are the loudest of the feminists, right? The men who are the most pissed off and angry are going to be the loudest, and it's going to make it look like all men. It's going to bring it to a point where it's going to start looking like all men hate women. It really is, because it's going to get so. When you look at the rise of Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate does not hate women, he absolutely does not. But when you look at the rise of Andrew Tate is only a precursor for what's to come. He's only a sign of things to come, because there are going to be many others that are going to rise up, but they're not going to be like Andrew. They're going to be much, much worse than Andrew. They're going to be angry. They're going to be vicious, and they're going to have large followings. Okay. And they're going to spread ideas of violence. They're going to spread ideas of violence. They're going to spread ideas of dominance. It's going to be quite severe. All right. And a lot of young men are going to gravitate to these people. A lot of young men are going to gravitate to them. and there won't be any discussions, because when you look at the alternative, all these men have to do is tell them, look at the condition, look at the state that young women are in today, going through things like their hoe phase. Look at how you men are treated in society. Look at the messages that they're putting out there. Look at what they did to Andrew in Romania, where they basically charged him and threw him in prison for making listen, not for forcing girls to do TikTok. Okay? Young men are watching this. Men of all ages are watching this around the world. All right? Even Piers Morgan simp behind. Even Piers Morgan simp butt literally started getting scared, because he's like, okay, it starts to kick in, like, if this can happen to Andrew, it can happen to me. And they're like, no, he's a jerk. He's a jerk. You know, if you're not a jerk, then you'll be fine. No, that's absolute nonsense. If you don't like me, then you can destroy my life and say that I committed any crime, even if I didn't commit a crime. You can invent whatever you want to invent and throw me in jail and take my entire life away and take my possessions away. They were trying. Romania was trying to confiscate his wealth all around the world. They even tried to take his mother's house away. They were going after all of his bank accounts. They confiscated all of his cryptocurrency. They tried to confiscate all of his cars, all of his possessions. And they said that they would use this money to compensate the victims of his crimes. So what? So if he had $1 billion in assets, right, you would take all of his assets and use that as to cover the cost of the trial and the investigation and the victims? Come on. Come on. Lori says communism. Well, here's the thing. Liberalism is just a gateway to socialism. All right? Socialism is just a gateway to communism. And communism is just a gateway to Marxism. They all go hand in hand. All right? They all go hand in hand. Feminism, liberalism, socialism, communism, Marxism. It's about giving 1% of the population all the power, all the control, all the resources, and having the remaining 99% bowing down to them, serving them, enabling them. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you. When I saw this video, I couldn't believe it. I was in literal shock. But it's like you just swallow it and you keep on moving. You know? I mean, does anyone, modern day women, a lot of modern day women don't even stop to think about the effect that this is having on this kind of thing is having on the minds of men and boys. Because the more men and boys see things like this, the more men and boys just have, the more they want to withdraw from society and have an increasingly negative view of women. All right. They did an experiment. They did an experiment where they took two different monkeys. They put monkey A in one cage, monkey B in another cage, and they put them right next to each other, right? And they had them for example, like pull a lever. And every time they pull a lever, they were rewarded with food. All right. So the monkeys eventually started to realize that if they pull a lever, they would be given food. So then what happened was they decided to modify the experiment. And instead of both of them receiving food whenever they pulled the lever, they started doing it where only monkey A would get food when they pulled the lever, while monkey B would not get food when they pulled the lever. So monkey A would pull the lever and they would receive food, and monkey B would pull the lever and they would not receive food. And monkey B would observe that every time monkey A pulled the lever, they received food, while monkey B pulled the lever and they didn't receive food. And they quickly realized that they were being treated unfairly, and they went absolutely insane and started going, hollering in there and trying to break out of the cage because it was unfair treatment. And if monkeys can come to this conclusion, what do you think is going to happen with human beings? Because it seems like society seems to think that men are dumber than monkeys. Guys, years ago, we had no problem calling corn. Now we can't even say the word anymore. Today, Gen Z, these young people, they call Cornhub the hub, like it's something cool. Oh, bro, I'm just chilling on the hub. And when it comes to young women, young women are almost half the users on the hub. All right? They're both making content and consuming content on the hub. It's absolutely insane. It's like the hub is the new PlayStation. Like, all right, man, I'm gonna go. I'll see you on the hub, bro. Chill, go into the hub. Go into the hub. The hub, like it's the place. It's the new cool place to hang out. OF. Guys. It used to be a disgrace. Like if you were involved in the adult industry, it wasn't something to be proud of. And now girls everywhere are treating OF like it's the new YouTube. And they're putting together videos with cats like dun 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 dun. They're like, hey, beautiful. Today we're talking about how you can be successful doing OF. And we're gonna encourage you because it's very possible. When I started doing it, it was hard, but I was consistent. I studied and I learned. And now I'm making this much money, and I enjoy sharing that information with you guys and encouraging you guys because I want you guys to be the best version of yourselves. And I'm like, bro, you're talking about making pornography. This is some great, wonderful thing. Like this is wrong. This is wrong. Oh my gosh. It's like so many modern day women no longer have any level of integrity. JP52 says, let me read this comment. Dave Chappelle was right. Get her to sign those legal waiver forms. On second thought, just leave. Guys, you know what's happening right now? And people have pointed it out. Even if you get signed consent these days, it can be thrown out. How do you know that she wasn't forced to sign those papers? How do you know that she felt safe signing those papers? How do you feel that she didn't feel pressured to sign those papers? It's just, guys, it's literally like if you have someone sign a prenup now. All a woman has to do is prove that she was under duress when she signed it, and they'll throw it out. And it's not hard to prove that a woman was under duress. Some ways to prove it. One, if she believed that the wedding would be canceled if she did not sign it, then she was on. That is a suitable. That is 100% proof that she was under duress, which is one of the reasons why there are some lawyers now who literally say you should have the whole thing recorded, like literally get a videographer to come down there and have multiple witnesses and to record the signing, have her bring like a witness for her, and literally an entire event just to have this done to prove that she was not actually under duress. And even then it may not be enough. All right? Even then. It's crazy. The wife of Sergey Brin, the woman who married Sergey Brin, his second wife, she's Brazilian, I believe. This woman is getting a divorce from Sergey right now. She's getting a divorce. She's claiming that when she married him, she was under duress because I believe at the time she was pregnant. and she's asking the court to award her $1 billion. Now, this guy was already worth crazy amounts of money when he married her. Crazy amounts of money. I don't know if he was worth, at this time, he's literally worth almost $100 billion. Last I checked, Sergey Brin was worth almost $100 billion. Right around there. He's one of the co-founders of Google. Right? He's worth almost $100 billion. She's asking for $1 billion. Her argument is that she was under duress when they got married. So basically, if she did not sign the prenup, then he would not have married her, and she was pregnant. So what she was, she was scared of being a single mother that would be destitute. Oh, this is just amazing. And her argument is that 1%, that she's only asking for the amount of money she's asking for is very small when you consider his sizable wealth. $1 billion is a very small amount of money to someone worth almost $100 billion. This is her argument in court, that she should be given $1 billion because it is a tiny part of his actual net worth. His net worth is roughly $100 billion, and that works out to just roughly 1% of his net worth. So she should be given $1 billion. And there's some women who will go, that's not all women. Not all women are like that. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Come on. Lord Bison says, these damn feminists destroy everything they touch. Celtic says, elites want us divided since we become easier to at least want us divided because it is easier to dominate and control us. Absolutely. Lori says, I'm Gen X, and it seems we're making a culture of hate. No one wants to grow. Our kids want division. The Gen Z is a horrible group of people. And here's the thing: people are attacking me, saying that you made it. You guys, you're the ones responsible for this. It's the millennials and Gen X who are responsible for this. Really, all of Gen X were crappy parents. They were all bad parents, and they're the reasons why Gen Z are like this. That's bullcrap. Listen to me. I was born in 1983. All right. 1983, those were hard times. They called Gen X the latchkey kids for a reason. All right? Back in those days, our parents weren't around. You would come home, there was no mom, there was no dad, and there was no food on the table for you. No food waiting on the stove, no food on the table. Nothing. The average age for being a latchkey kid was 8. Although for many of us, it was much younger. You were home alone, and you had to figure out how to take care of yourself. And you better not leave the lights on, because you don't waste their electricity, because electricity is expensive. This is the experience of Gen X. I just don't understand it. And oh my gosh, the boomers, the boomers and those other generations, they were so great. These people were all committing adultery. They were all getting divorces. All right. They were all involved in deviant behavior. All right. Back in the 80s, they were all using tons of illicit substances. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. People seem to think that the crack epidemic only affected the Black community, but I've said this many years ago that Grandma Becky was a legendary crackhead. Y'all remember that one? Okay? Look at Hunter Biden. Hunter loves his crack. Okay? These previous generations, they were a bunch of no goods. People act like Gen X and the millennials all had these wonderful lives. You've got to be kidding me. So blaming Gen X for the way that Gen Z turned out, oh, you gave them too much. You didn't raise your kids properly. You let smartphones raise them. You're to blame. How the hell? I was like, I don't get it. Okay, so it's your fault. It's the fault of Gen X for giving them phones, right? It's the fault of Gen X for allowing them to go on social media. It's the fault of Gen X for for not abusing their kids. Oh, if you had beat them, they wouldn't be like they wouldn't be this way. It's like no one wants to recognize the fact that Gen Z grew up pretty damn privileged. When we were growing up, there was no such thing as cell phones for us. There was no cell phone. Cell phones, if you had a cell phone back in those days, they thought you were a drug dealer. If you brought a cell phone to school back in those days, when I was a kid, they thought you were a drug dealer, and the cops would likely be there to come and get you, because the only people that could afford a cell phone back then were drug dealers. It was extremely uncommon for doctors to have cell phones back in those days. You would never see a doctor with a cell phone. They had pagers, and even those were expensive back then. But cell phones, you would never see a doctor with a cell phone back then. The only people that had cell phones back then were drug dealers. So you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. But oh no, it's the fault of the previous generations why Gen Z is like this. And then the arguments like, oh, Gen Z is just trying to come up. They're just trying to come up. It's the corporations that are so unfair. The corporations aren't paying people fairly. Half of Gen Z hasn't even graduated from high school yet. Half of Gen Z hasn't graduated from high school yet. And the oldest of Gen Z are 26 years old this year. What 26-year-old is buying a house at this age? Who's buying a house at 26 now? What makes you think you're entitled to be able to afford a house at 26? That you should be making enough money to buy a $500,000 house at 26. Like, how entitled do you have to be? And there's a bunch of these people that are quitting their 9-to-5 jobs to go and drive for DoorDash and Grubhub, all right? Because working a 9 to 5 is too hard. So they want to make $100 an hour doing very little work, and they don't want to work more than 5 hours a day. Gen Z, they're a rotten group of people. They're a rotten group of people. Absolutely rotten. We didn't grow up with luxuries, all right? We didn't have all of this stuff. It was hard back in the 90s, man. It was hard back in the 80s. I'm just frustrated with this crap from these group of people. Roman says, hey, bro, for the men in the chat that are in different stages in their life, what advice do you have for passport bros that want to spread their seed and have a family? Celtic said, I cremated my dad 2 months ago for $4,000. Jesus Christ. $4,000? A traditional burial was 15,000 grand for a basic casket. Guys, didn't I tell you this is exactly where it's coming? Didn't I tell you this is where it's going? Laura said, I think spreading your seed is evolution. It is hardwired. Women should be selective of their eggs, and men are hardwired to spread. The problem is that women are giving it up to Brad, Chad, Tyrone, Ray, Pookie, and the mailman. But then they decide that when they find a guy the guy they want to settle down with, he has to wait months or until he's married to her to get anything. And the truth is, she doesn't actually want to be with him. She just sees him as a utility, and she'll just use him while she's going back out to the streets, because she was born on the streets. She was raised on the streets, and she is forever for the streets. It's the honest to goodness truth. It's like it's a complete reversal. Women are going through their whole phases now, and to be very clear, I've said this already. You have a lot of young men. And you have a lot of men and some women that are now telling young men, don't be like the girls. Don't go out there and sleep around the way they're sleeping around. Don't be entitled the way they're being entitled and stuck up, because this is not the way that you can operate. You can live in society. Young women are women in Western society. I said this years ago, would serve as an example to women in the rest of the world of what not to do, because women in Western society are going to fall into such extraordinary states of destitution in the decades to come. And when I say decades, I mean over the next in the coming years, we're going to watch as the as women, their socioeconomic status in society, among other things, begins to rapidly decline. When you consider this, that 45% of all women will be childless and single come 2030, between the ages of 25 and 44. All right, that's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Okay? And what they're doing is they're like, these women aren't lonely, because men are not, a lot of men are not dating. So because when men are not dating, the men are lonely. But when the women are going to be childless and single, they're empowered. Someone actually said this, and I love what they said. They said something along the lines of like Gen Z is going, I think it was like Gen Z is going to empty Social Security disability or something like that. Like Social Security is going to be emptied. It's going to be emptied very soon. Like it's going to be dry. It's going to be dry. Golan says, heck, I was watching The Road to Asia, comparing that to our lives. We live like kings, but despite the extreme poverty in India, they have culture, they have community, they have families. It's guys, I've lived overseas, and these people, to some degree, it's like they may not have the money that we have, but they have happiness. A lot of them are absolutely happy, and they don't have the kinds of stress that we have. All right, because they work when they need to, they work when they have to work, then they go home and chill with their family and their friends. They drink beer, they eat good, and they go lay on the beach, sleep in a hammock, and that's it. And they don't want to live our lives. They don't want to live like us. All right, because we live such stressed out lives, and our lives burn away so quickly, and we can't get that back. There's so many of y'all listening right now in your 40s, your 50s, some of you are in your 60s, and how much life do you really have left? How much life have you really lived? Some of you are like, well, I lived a decent life. I lived a good life. You don't even know what a good life is because you have never traveled. You haven't been to other countries. All right? Your definition of a good life might be a white picket fence. That's not a good life. You think it's a good life. Well, if it's good enough for you, great. But it's like a lot of people don't realize that your purpose in life is not to work, although you do need to work hard for the things you want. All right? Gen Z, they don't want to work for anything. And that's one of the biggest problems. But then at the same time, so many of us, we spend our lives just throwing it away to the system for absolutely nothing. Celtic said it costs $700 to it costs $700 just to etch his date of death on our family headstone. 700, guys. 700 to etch a name, to etch the date of death on a headstone. Come on. Let me see. What did Lori say? Right now, I think it's more looking like women hate men. It does absolutely look like women hate men. It absolutely looks like women hate men in society. And I don't think most women care at this point, because they feel like they're on top of the world. And they feel like they're better than men, so it doesn't matter until things start crashing down. Saying, oh shoots. Oh boy. Saying says Andrew Tate thinks women should be property. He thinks his sister is his husband's property. Oh shoots, oh shoots, oh shoots. Oh my goodness. Oh, guys, what do you think's gonna happen with so much division in society right now, and Andrew Tate becoming more and more popular, and guys, and there's gonna be tons of men trying to emulate him. Like I said, they're gonna be even worse than him. What do you think's gonna happen when young men start digesting these things and looking at women and looking at girls like, listen, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And when they do have a relationship with a woman, women think that, men have to be reasonable. But a lot of guys now are going to have some of these views. And some of those views will be that women should be property. And this is a direct symptom of what feminism has done to men in society. Roman King says, that is so true. At one point, I hated the Taliban 9 years ago. Today, I'm like telling myself, yeah, Taliban are bad, but they had a point about women. Oh my gosh. Oh shit. Oh shit. Lori says, that's funny. I thought Tate was a jerk because of the media till I listened. We don't listen. We just hate. It's amazing what you learn if you listen. Okay. Lori says, I'm here because I'm ready to listen. Roman says, that's great, Lori. Jason says, the trans women, dolls, and gay men will replace women as people who men provide for. Oh, shoots. Oh, shoots. Oh. Oh, gosh. Roman King says, trans women taking one for the homies. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Let's go, says F Predubs. Oh, my goodness. Jason says that the human population in West will be at an all-time low. It absolutely will. Absolutely will. LaShawn said she's asking for $1 billion. Yep, Sergey Brin's wife wants $1 billion. Let's go, says Lori is a troll. Lori says, look at my page. I'm not a troll. I don't have much, but I'm real. Let's go says, all women are like that. Yep, all of them. They have the ability to be that way. Let's keep on going. Gen X, and I wouldn't date your mom. Jason says the crack era affected all races during that time, even now. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Keep on going. Shout out to Dr. MGTOW, one of the old guys, one of the older subscribers from. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of anger towards women today. Dr. MGTOW says these roast beef cunt monsters will end up lonely and miserable forever. Lori says roast beef. Yeah, there's a lot of infighting these days. Let's go says federal business is a scam where they are trained to make money off people's emotions. That casket you think is water sealed, it ain't. Your loved one is floating around in that box. Cremation for the win. Yes, 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 yes. Let's go. Let's go says Gen Z will empty Social Security. I totally agree. Gen Z are mentally defective. All right. They're going to listen to me. You're going to see members of Gen Z filing for Social Security disability at extremely high rates, and they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They're going to be found. They're going to be found. They will literally get it. They're going to be found mentally unfit. Whatever they have, whatever it is, they will pass. They will 100% get it. All right. They will be diagnosed with whatever because everybody knows these guys are messed up. All right. And they're going to empty those Social Security funds out fast. Oh boy. Let's Go says, Lori, you're ready to listen now. Way too late. Men aren't interested in you or other feminazis. This is one of the consequences. And for Lori and any other and just women, like I said, and I'm this is how it is. You have to understand that men, women, a lot of women don't comprehend that they're not going to find a lot of men who are sympathetic or reasonable anymore. Okay? A lot of men are no longer going to listen. All right. And if women go I've said this before, you're going to have women that are going to get together and try to discuss how could we can fix this amongst ourselves. And they're going to want men to be there. And the only guys who are going to be there are going to be the simps that helped to create this problem. And when we're going to say, what are you guys doing here? We want the normal guys. We want the other guys. And they're going to say, oh yeah, those guys aren't coming here. We're all you have. And you need to show us a little bit of respect. I said this many, many years ago. Women are going to be absolutely shocked when they discover that most men will no longer have anything to do with them. They won't speak to them. They won't be reasonable. The only guys that are going to deal with them are going to be the men that they don't want to deal with, the simps that help to destroy society. I'm not calling you a feminist, Lori, but you have to understand, and I think, like I'm saying, a lot of women are going to experience this now. You'll go into a male space and you'll find a lot of men that will not want to have anything to do with you, won't want to have that will not want to have a reasonable conversation with you because they're at the point where they're like, yeah, it's I don't trust any woman at all, you know. And this is one of the reasons why women don't comprehend. Just it's like after M2 was the end of it. It's like the relationship between men and women was already on life support, and then M2 hit, and that was the end. Everything after M2 is just basically beating a dead horse. Like the horse is already dead. You're like the horse died long ago. And it's kind of like that with the relationship between men and women in Western society today. The relationship died long ago. It's been dead for years. And it's just basically beating a dead horse right now. And trying to rebuild a relationship between men and women in Western society is impossible at this point. There's no way of rebuilding the West. There's no way of rebuilding that relationship in our lifetime, our children's lifetime, or our children's lifetime. It took 60 to 70 years for us to get to this point. All right. And this is something that's been happening well over this is something that has been brewing for over 100 years. So it didn't take us. It took us more than 100 years to get here. It's not gonna. This can't be fixed in 5 to 10 years. This is not something we can fix in 20 years. I mean, to be very honest with you, the United States may not be here in 100 years, or if it is, it may be it may be in absolute shambles. Nations rise and fall, and a lot of people don't seem to comprehend that. If humanity survives for the next 1,000 years, people that are around today might be shocked to discover that America doesn't exist 1,000 years from now. America is gone 1,000 years from now. I mean, even 100 years from now. My honest belief is that even if my honest belief is that even if the laws were to change suddenly, even if no fault divorce was abolished, you know, uh, even if so many of these things, even if the laws were changed rapidly, paternity fraud was outlawed, even if these things were to happen rapidly, men would still not want to have relationships with modern day women, even because in Western society, because the trust is gone. And then on top of that, men are no longer desiring women the way they once did. When you look at promiscuity and you women going through what they call their whole phase and then being proud of that, a lot of the young men, they look at that, men of all ages, and it looks disgusting to them. And then you have women saying things like, if a man wants a woman who doesn't have a high body count, then what he really wants is a child. And guys are like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. Like, you're literally, what women have done is they've literally found a way to shut off the desire of men. They've made men, they're increasingly making themselves so undesirable to men that men are now walking away from relationships entirely. And they think, women seem to think that men will always desire women because women have the golden vagina, and they don't comprehend there's a lot of guys who are just done. Women don't think that men can live without them, and it's sad. It's absolutely sad that we've gotten to this point. They thought that they would maintain this power over men forever, and they don't realize that men can say no. It's just unbelievable, but it is what it is. I'll read what Dr. MGTOW says here. I'll read what Dr. MGTOW says. He says, I trust no female, and my gut strongly tells me to run away. I don't want to be in a relationship ever again. All girls want to go shopping and stuff. I'm extremely introverted. I don't go out. Guys, this is how a lot of men are today. And women don't comprehend it. Men are dropping out of society, dropping out of the workforce, and women think that shaming men is going to make them come back. The cost of labor is going up. That labor for jobs that men do, blue collar work, is skyrocketing in cost, and it's only going to get even higher because men aren't doing these jobs. Men are only working as much as they have to survive. And women don't understand. Men don't need a lot to survive. Give a man a place to sleep, food to eat, a place to shit and shower, all right, and some entertainment. That could be a laptop, some video games, a Nintendo Switch. Men don't need a lot. I'm just telling you that right now. And the guys are happy. And they will be very, very satisfied. And they don't need a lot. Men don't need a lot to survive. Men don't need a lot to be happy. And if men decide that, hey, a woman is compromising my happiness, they're compromising my peace, and they won't make me happy, they'll make me miserable. Because a lot of the things that men do in life and work to acquire, most of a man's life, most of the things men work to acquire throughout their lives, they don't do it for them, they do it for women. Trying to rent a nice apartment and furnish it, trying to drive a nice car, dress a certain way. It's all for women. If men weren't doing this because of women, guys would dress casually all of the time, wearing comic book shirts and faded jeans, and I'm being serious. You know, they would rent a room somewhere with their buddies and basically, you know, and live as cheap as possible. Live as cheap as possible, play video games, and work stress-free jobs. You know, they'd go work at 7-Eleven, and that's enough to pay their bills. And guys, if these guys aren't going out on dates, everything else is extra. They'll toss whatever they have left over in the bank. All right. And again, if men aren't going on dates, they're not spending money on expensive things, and they don't want. If a guy is like, okay, well, I don't need a nice car because I'm not going to spend that kind of money on an expensive car to find a woman. A guy will buy an old car if he even needs one. If he needs a car, he'll buy an older car. He'll buy an older car, and he'll be very, very happy with that. And he'll drive that around and have no debt, no payments, and live comfortably and ease and happy. And women will say, how can you even live like this? And the answer is quite simple. And when you look at the way modern day women are living, modern day women are constantly insulting the way men live. But then look how they live. They can't cook, they can't clean. You look at what they call these things girl dinners, are AKA medieval peasant meals, where girls are eating literally cheese, bread, grapes, and drinking pickle juice because that they can't cook. They're basically living in poverty. All right, but then they're going out. The same chicks are going out and saying they want a guy who makes at least $500,000 a year, $1 million a year. You know, they want to marry they all want to marry the top athletes in the world. Every girl thinks that she should be married to LeBron James. Like what? He's 6'8", worth over $1 billion, and all these and he's the top athletes in the world, the most famous active player, youngest, and every woman seems to think that that's the guy she should be dating. And what do you have to offer? Not a damn thing, but somehow, oh, I'm a 10. I'm a 10. I'm a 10. Really? Shy Sock says, got my grandfather's 90 Fleetwood Cadillac. And here's the irony. Most men like old cars. You know, unless you want to get something, unless you're interested in purchasing something like a Tesla that's a specialty vehicle and it has special features, unless you're driving a Tesla, a lot of guys, I love Hyundais. I love Hyundai SUVs. I find the features in Hyundai SUVs really, really nice. I love Hyundais. I find them to be much more, because the parts, replacing parts, fixing them, it's such a nicer experience. Not Honda, Hyundai. And there are people who are like, oh my gosh, that's so cheap. I don't care. I don't care what you think. All right. And a lot of guys are like that. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that they're out there trying to impress women, a lot of guys prefer, they prefer to drive cars that are older. All right. And not just because they cost less, but they find them cooler, because these were the kinds of cars that we grew up with. An older Cadillac, that's what we found cool. Dr. Big Town says, yes, stress-free jobs. That's what I do. Super easy job, barely do anything, get paid almost $25 an hour. I'm loving the paychecks. My job is so chill and my colleagues are awesome. We work at night too. Golem says, what makes women think shame is going to bring anyone back? Maybe the hopeless simps who, but what do you have to offer the other person in your relationship if you don't have traditional values? Let's Go says, girls live an easy life. An average 18-year-old can see the entire world, while a guy would have to pay lots of money to see the world. Just because she's a fairly attractive girl, she's afforded all. But the funny thing is that when these women should be looking for husbands, All right, when they should be looking for good men, they basically squander it all away. That's why the saying goes: women are born rich and die poor, and men are born poor and die rich. Lori says the thing that gets me, they want these men to take care of them, but then they turn around only to say they don't need men. You can't have it both ways. Well, here's the thing, Lori. You're a woman saying these things. How do you think men feel? Men are at the point where they just can't. It's. Imagine men have to deal with these types of women, and you're a woman, so you're not dating women. All right, men are the ones dating them, waiting women, and going through this absolute insanity over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it just gets to the point where guys are like, yeah, thank God I gave up on women. Guys, what do you think regarding this? Women are saying that men asking for consent too often, and men are tired of the nonsense. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. You know what I think? I want to hear your thoughts. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.